right, so welcome back. If you joined us for our last deep dive, we were looking at, the idea of like soft addiction to ultra-processed foods.
Right.
We talked about the bliss point and how a lack of satiety can make those chips and cookies so hard to resist.
Mm-hmm.
But today, we're going even deeper.
Deeper.
Yeah, all the way down to the molecular level.
Wow.
To look at something called molecular fragmentation.
Now, that sounds a little intimidating.
It is a little bit. I mean, to think about it, the way that we process food,
Yeah.
Like grinding, shredding, pulverizing it, that it could be creating these tiny, tiny particles
Right.
that impact our health
Yeah.
in ways we don't fully understand.
Yeah, it's unsettling, isn't it?
It is. So today, to try to understand this, we're going to be looking at excerpts from a new document by Dr. Lev Naimotin, all about this molecular fragmentation process.
Okay.
We're also going to be pulling in some audio from our last episode to kind of tie these two together and to try and answer this big question. Could those perfectly smooth textures and long shelf lives that we see so much come with, like, a hidden danger?
I mean, that's the big question, right?
Yeah.
Is there something going on here that we haven't really been aware of?
Right.
It's fascinating to consider that this process of creating ultra-processed food, it involves breaking down ingredients to a microscopic level.
Yeah.
Sometimes even smaller than the actual cells that the ingredients came from.
So, okay, hold on. We need to unpack that a little bit.
Yeah.
We're talking about plant cells that are around like 10 to 100 microns in diameter.
Yeah.
Right. And animal cells being about the same.
That's right. And the processing can bring those food particles down to that same size range.
Okay.
So for plant-based foods, it's about 10 to 100 microns.
Okay.
And for meat products, it can be a little larger, like 50 to 500 microns.
So imagine a building,
Okay.
but being pulverized into dust particles.
Yeah.
That's essentially what we're doing to the cells in ultra-processed foods.
Wow, that's a powerful visual.
It is. And so that brings us to the next question, right? Which is, why should we care about the size of these particles?
Well, that's a really important question. So think about this. The nucleus of a cell, where its DNA is stored, is typically, somewhere between 5 to 20 microns in plant cells.
Okay.
And then in animal cells, it's about 5 to 10 microns. So when processing breaks food down to this level, it could be damaging or even destroying those nuclei.
Right. And this is where Dr. Naimotin's hypothesis gets really interesting and a little concerning. He's basically suggesting that processing could be creating harmful molecular fragments.
Interesting.
Especially from those destroyed cell nuclei.
Now, that's a really big claim.
It is. But we don't yet know how many of these fragments are actually harmful.
Right.
It's new.
We need more research.
Yeah. But it raises the question, right? What happens to these fragments in our bodies?
Right. Where do they go?
Could they be disrupting processes at a cellular level?
Right.
Or even interacting with our own DNA in ways we don't know yet.
Yeah.
I mean, if we're consuming all these tiny fragments with, like, unknown effects, shouldn't we at least be a little cautious?
Yeah, I think that's a fair point.
Yeah. I mean, could this new understanding of molecular fragmentation change how we define healthy eating?
Yeah, maybe.
So we're going to dive deeper into all of these questions and more.
Great.
In part 2.
I'm ready.
All right.
Let's keep going.
Okay.
Yeah, it really is like opening Pandora's box in a way.
It is.
We've been breaking down food to this microscopic level for who knows how long.
Yeah.
Decades.
Lately.
Without even really thinking about what it could be doing.
All right.
What the consequences might be.
Yeah. And it really makes you wonder.
Yeah.
Like, as we keep looking deeper into the microscopic world.
Right.
What else are we going to find?
Exactly.
But for now, we're kind of left with more questions than answers, right?
Yeah.
It's
right.
like about these molecular fragments.
Yeah.
What exactly makes them potentially harmful?
So one of the key concerns is DNA damage.
Okay.
If you remember, the nucleus, which often gets broken down during processing,
Right.
contains the cell's DNA.
Right.
And when that DNA gets fragmented, it can really disrupt these crucial cellular processes.
So, like, messing with the blueprints of the cell.
Exactly.
Could that have, like, a ripple effect throughout our bodies?
Yeah, precisely. Fragmented DNA can potentially interfere with gene expression.
Wow.
Which basically leads to malfunctions in how our cells operate.
So, like, while our bodies are generally pretty good at breaking things down,
Right.
we don't know if they can handle these, like, unusual molecular fragments.
Right. Or if they might be triggering some unwanted processes.
It's kind of unsettling to think that we could be like eating something
Yeah.
that could interfere with our cell's very basic functions.
Absolutely. And that's just one piece of the puzzle, really.
Yeah.
There's still so much we need to uncover. Like, are there specific types of fragments that are more concerning than others?
Oh, interesting.
Do these fragments accumulate in our bodies over time?
Yeah.
These are questions that really need further investigation.
It feels like we're just at the tip of the iceberg in terms of understanding the long-term implications.
Yeah, absolutely.
But what I find really fascinating is this whole conversation, it really comes from Dr. Nemoten's hypothesis, right?
Right.
He's kind of pushing the boundaries of how we understand food and its impact on our health.
His work is certainly thought-provoking.
Yeah.
It really highlights the need for more research in this area.
Totally.
It's time we start paying more attention to these unseen consequences.
I think that's exactly what we're doing here.
Yeah.
With this deep dive, bringing those unseen consequences to light.
Exactly.
It makes me think about those food labels.
Yeah.
With their ingredient lists.
Mm-hmm.
So many ingredients we can't even pronounce. What if those ingredients are contributing to this fragmentation?
Well, it's certainly a possibility.
Yeah.
And it really just underscores the importance of choosing whole, minimally processed foods whenever possible.
Like, think about foods in their natural state.
Exactly.
Fruits, vegetables, nuts, seeds.
That's right.
Those haven't been subjected to the same level of processing.
Exactly. They haven't gone through that mechanical processing, like those ultra-processed options.
So maybe it's not about avoiding all processed foods.
Right.
Maybe it's about making more informed choices.
Yeah.
Choosing those less processed options.
Yes, whenever we can.
When we can, right?
Right.
And being more mindful about the potential risks of the things that have been heavily processed.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Knowledge is power.
It is.
The more we understand about the food we eat,
right,
the better choices we can make
totally
for ourselves.
I think we've unpacked a lot here.
Yeah, we have.
In this part of our deep dive, we've gone from the basics of molecular fragmentation to the potential consequences of actually consuming those tiny particles.
Right.
But before we wrap things up,
okay,
I'm really curious to explore some potential solutions.
Okay.
Ways we can navigate this increasingly complex food landscape.
Right.
That's what we'll be looking at in the final part of this deep dive. We've been looking at some pretty unsettling ideas. About molecular fragmentation. It's not exactly, appetizing to think about these tiny, potentially harmful particles.
Yeah, it's like looking through a microscope and realizing there's this whole world happening at a level that we just don't even think about.
Yeah, we don't consider it.
Yeah.
And that microscopic world is impacting our health in ways that we're only just starting to understand. But what do we do about it?
Right.
Like, we can't just stop eating.
Right. Of course not. But we can certainly shift our perspective and make more informed choices.
Okay.
One of the most empowering things we can do is become a savvy label reader.
Okay.
Start paying attention to those
long ingredient lists.
Those ingredient lists, yeah, especially all those things that we can't even pronounce.
So if we see ingredients that sound more like a chemistry experiment than food.
Right.
That's a red flag.
It could be a red flag.
Okay.
Highly processed foods often rely on a really complex array of additives, preservatives, flavor enhancers.
Right.
And those things could be contributing to this fragmentation that we've been talking about.
It's like a detective game.
Yeah, it is. It is.
Trying to decode those labels and figure out what's actually in our food.
Right.
But beyond label reading, are there other practical steps that we can take?
Absolutely. One of the simplest yet most effective strategies is to prioritize whole, minimally processed foods.
Okay.
Think about, foods as close to their natural state as possible.
So fruits, vegetables, nuts, seeds, legumes, whole grains.
Exactly.
All those staples that our ancestors thrived on.
Right.
Foods that haven't been subjected to this intense mechanical processing.
Right.
That's creating those tiny, potentially problematic particles.
Exactly. And then, when you do choose processed foods, opt for those with the shorter ingredient list,
Okay.
with the things that you recognize.
Yeah.
You know what those things are.
It's about making conscious choices.
Exactly.
Maybe that means swapping out the instant oatmeal
Right.
for rolled oats.
Right.
Or choosing plain yogurt over the one with, 12 extra ingredients.
Right, exactly.
It's not about being perfect. It's about shifting your mindset
Absolutely.
and gradually incorporating more whole foods into your diet. And remember, knowledge is power, right?
Yes.
We've uncovered, some unsettling information about
Yeah.
molecular fragmentation, but that knowledge
Right.
allows us to make informed decisions
Right.
about the food we eat.
Absolutely.
So as we conclude this deep dive,
Yeah.
I want to leave you with this thought. You have the power to make choices that support your health and your well-being.
Absolutely.
So keep asking questions, keep learning, keep those taste buds adventurous, and until next time, happy eating.